Hi everyone, and making a video this week to add to the ones that are already up there from last year. And I thought this time that I would talk about the subject of whether religions are still valid. So, it's often expressed, and in the modern era, we have this apparent conflict between science and religion. And there has been this sense that most of the religions that we studied were formulated millennia ago, 2,000 years or more, and in the case of the Vedas, many more thousands of years before. And Judaism is also an ancient religion. So these religions were sort of formulated long time ago. And a couple of you were with me in a course last semester that was called The Origin and Destiny of Human Consciousness. And with the assumption being that human consciousness is evolving, that it's changing, that in one way or another there's a kind of progression that may be cyclic or may be linear towards some end. And if so, then what relevance could religions possibly have that were formulated 2,000 years or more ago to us now? And very often we have the view expressed particularly from people who don't identify with religions and scientists in particular, that religion is obsolete. It's become obsolete, and that we need to leave it behind, leave the idea of it behind. And even John Lennon said something like that, right? No religions too. So it's like, yes, we have to take this seriously then, in that case. And I wanted to sort of consider a little bit that question. I'm really kind of throwing it out for you to think about. And clearly there are certain aspects of religions that have become outdated, and in our covering of Judaism, we will come across for the first time, really, the explicit reference to the feminine. And mystical Judaism is somewhat unique, actually, in bringing in a very important and basic way the feminine into their cosmology and practices. And but many, Judaism itself, in its historically, and Christianity and all other religions really have tended to be patriarchal and male dominated, and so in the way that we've advanced as a culture socially, as a race socially, that religions have become that aspect of their expression that is very culturally determined. They can become out of date, but the question is, what about religion itself? That religion at heart. Remember, we went into the derivation of that word, ligare, religare, to rebind, to rejoin. Does the processes that, like yoga, that reconnect heaven and earth, for us, those things that have been split asunder, do they? Has that become obsolete for us today? And of course, the assumption, I really want the assumptions here in this course is that's not true, but I want to sort of bring that point home. But we've been looking at Buddhism, or Buddhism dates back to 600 BC, roughly, but it's bringing forward ideas from that predate that. So let's take a look at Buddhism. Well, let's take a look at the Four Noble Truths. Or the life is suffering, or dukkha in Sanskrit. And that's the cause of that suffering is this kind of grasping that in Sanskrit is called tanha. So how about that? And what I want to do now is to, sorry about my phone. What I want to do now is play you a video from a guy, it's maybe a video that some of you know actually, or it may be a person that some of you know from videos, whose name is Prince Ea. And I want to play this video right now. It's a short video. It'll be spliced into this video of mine, and then talk about it afterwards, because this video is a very modern expression of suffering.
The world is coming to an end. The air is polluted, the ocean's contaminated. The animals are going extinct, the economy's collapsed. Education is shot, police are corrupt. Intelligence is shunned and ignorance rewarded. The people are depressed and angry, we can't live with each other and we can't live with ourselves, so everyone's medicated. We pass each other on the streets, and if we do speak, it's meaningless robotic communication. More people want 15 seconds of fame than a lifetime of meaning and purpose, because what's popular is more important than what's right. Ratings are more important than the truth. Our government builds twice as many prisons than schools. It's easier to find a Big Mac than an apple. And when you find the apple, it's been genetically processed and modified. Presidents lie, politicians trick us. Race is still an issue, and so is religion. Your God doesn't exist, my God does, and He is all-loving. If you disagree with me, I'll kill you, or even worse, argue you to death. 92% of songs on the radio are about sex. Kids don't play tag, they play twerk videos. The average person watches 5 hours of television a day, and it's more violence on the screen than ever before. Technology has given us everything we could ever want, and at the same time stolen everything we really need. Pride is at an all-time high, humility an all-time low. Everybody knows everything, everybody's going somewhere, ignoring someone, blaming somebody. Not many human beings left anymore, a lot of human doings, plenty of human lingerings in the past, not many human beings. Money is still the root of all evil, yet we tell our kids, don't get that degree, the jobs don't pay enough. Good deeds are only done when there's a profit margin. Videos of the misfortunes of others go viral. We laugh and share them with our friends to laugh with us. Our role models today, 60 years ago, would have been examples of what not to be. There are states where people can legally be discriminated against because they were born a certain way. Companies invest millions of dollars hiring specialists to make little girls feel like they need makeup to be beautiful, permanently lowering their self-esteem because they will never be pretty enough to meet those impossible standards. Corporations tell us, buy, get this, get that. You must keep up, you must fit in. This will make you happy, but it never does for long. So what can we do in the face of all this madness and chaos? What is the solution? We can love. Not the love you hear in your favorite song on the radio. I mean real love, true love, boundless love. You can love each other from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed. Perform an act of kindness because that is contagious. We can be mindful during every interaction, planting seeds of goodness, showing a little more compassion than usual. We can forgive because 300 years from now, will that grudge you hold against your friend, your mother, your father have been worth it? Instead of trying to change others, we can change ourselves, we can change our hearts. We've been sold lies, brainwashed by our leaders and those we trust, and not recognize our brothers and sisters, and to exhibit anger, hatred, and cruelty. But once we truly love, we will meet anger with sympathy, hatred with compassion, cruelty with kindness. Love is the most powerful weapon on the face of the earth. Robert Kennedy once said that few will have the greatness to be in history, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events, and in the total of all those acts will be written the history of a generation. So yes, the world is coming to an end, and the path towards a new beginning starts within you.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video. I actually think it's a fantastic video. It's to me, a beautiful expression of what is sort of undeniably a kind of truth in our current age. He's in many ways, I just feel like he's really hitting a nail on the head with that video, and so and another thing that's beautiful about it for me is to actually express it, to say it. It's like, yeah, this is how it is. This is for us. This does seem to be going on, and so clearly, suffering is still with us, and in many ways, so the very thing that is supposed to make us modern, or one of the main things that's supposed to make us modern and to put us in the position of leaving religion behind, our science and technology, our great knowledge of the universe and physical reality, that very thing, I think this video makes obvious, has been used in a way to elevate our suffering, to almost create a kind of new level of suffering, a new scale of suffering, if you like, that I'm not sure that the world has sort of seen before, just quite like this. And so it's, despite the sort of technology and science and the great knowledge and everything, we're still capable of turning that into suffering, and in some way, we're capable of creating suffering. Tanha, the grasping, is capable of using that to create suffering on a much kind of larger scale, much more kind of collective scale. And this is borne out in many aspects of modern culture, particularly, for example, reflected in statistics on depression and suicide, these statistics are constantly on the rise, and there's almost a kind of epidemic, and especially amongst the young, the sort of teenagers or younger generations. These things are tremendous problems, and the epidemic of medication and depression and that kind of thing. So there's no doubt that we have this suffering, and so that at least the very first aspect and second aspect of the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism seem to be still valid. And so I just wanted to bring that out. It's like, so the only other question then is to whether the solutions to that suffering is still valid. And I'm sure that we could easily find that that's true. And I would sort of argue that this is true for all of the traditions that we will study. But in other words, that the very human issue that we have, this split, which needs to be rebound together, is very much still present with us. So despite the fact that there may have been an evolution in consciousness, and this of course raises the question as to whether there really has been an evolution in consciousness, but despite that fact, some very basic aspects of human nature remain with us, very basic aspects that were present when these religions were formed, even as far back as the Vedas, seem to be still present with us, seem to still need to be addressed in a particular kind of way that reunites that which has been torn asunder. And in case of Buddhism, then, to address this question of dukkha. So I thought that would be interesting to put out this week, obviously, having just gone through Buddhism. And if you want to sort of comment on this at all, then please do. I'm sort of throwing it out there for as sort of food for thought, that some very basic aspects of religion, as the word was originally intended, are clearly still needed, still valid. Now, like I said, the cultural expression, these orthodox expressions that are, by the way, when I use the word orthodox, because we're coming into Christianity next week, Orthodox can be used in a general sense, but it also can refer to the Eastern Orthodox Church, and I don't want to confuse the two because that wouldn't be right to do that, and I'll talk more about that next week. But Orthodox in the sense of the exoteric part of religions, then that can be very culturally determined. Certainly, some aspects of those do get out of date, and you guys have earlier on in your introductions and sort of since have mentioned that. So there we are, and let's see. Another aspects of the relevance of religions that I want to mention has to do with statistics, right? The numbers, and globally. The trend is in terms of percentages, the trend is towards more religious, in terms of the population, more people identifying with a religion. The trend is towards more people identifying with religion than not. Globally, we're talking about now. Such that at this point in time, there's about 85% of the world's population identifies with a religion. By the mid part of this century, it's projected to reach about 90%. Now, admittedly, a lot of that has to do with birth rates. And one consequence of this, for example, birth rate is the fact that Islam will pass Christianity as the world's most popular religion, and that's largely because of the birth rate in Islamic countries is higher. So it's not a result of conversions of people, although that does happen, of course, but it's not a major component of these statistics. Where religion does seem to be on the decline is in what you might call the West. So to some extent in America, and more strongly in Europe, and religion is on the decline, and those not identifying with religion, that group of people is on the increase. And that's about a quarter to a third of the United States and greater portion in Europe. Interestingly enough, some of the Eastern European countries are even more drastically not identified with religion. And the Russia, the ex-Soviet Union countries many of them are like that, which is strange. In America, it's about 2/3 of people that identify as Christian, and then there's a group, about a third that doesn't. And part of that group that doesn't is sort of 20% or so that calls themselves spiritual and not religious, and these categories are growing in this country. So there's some interesting information about the importance of religion, but globally, 90% of the world by halfway through the century is going to be identifying with a religion. So hard to use those numbers to say that religion has become irrelevant. So we have religion, we do, and in this course we're experiencing them, and we'll see what our opinion is by the time we get to the end of it. But it's clear from the video that I played as part of this video that our modern culture has not addressed a particular need that we have as humans, and religion remains the thing that addresses that thing. And I call it the God-shaped hole. This is not a expression of mine. It's not totally clear where it came from originally, but Jean-Paul Sartre used it and Nietzsche used it, along with God is dead. But to that statement that God is dead goes along with the fact that there's an God-shaped, what they both said was that humans would be left with a God-shaped hole, and that's what we try and do is fill that hole with things that don't fill it, and that's because of our modern culture detaching itself from religion and religious belief. So this remains an issue, and how that is addressed by our culture in the future is a very interesting question. And here we are going through the world's religions with the particular focus, hopefully, on the mysticism within them. And perhaps in there somewhere are the seeds or roots of what our culture could use to address these issues. Okay, we're into a very different realm this week, and I hope you enjoy it. Judaism. We've got 2 weeks on Judaism, so you can continue your practices from last week if you like. And if you want to report in on the continuation of your practice, please do, and simply add it to the practice report that you've already submitted. And that would be fascinating to hear how they progress. And but we'll be starting a practice next weekend for Judaism, and I'm going to, well, I think that's enough said there. And you guys are doing great with all of your posts, and the extent to which you're engaging with the material seems fantastic to me. So I'll be making another one hopefully this weekend, no video, and I'll be in touch with all of you. Okay.